Welcome back, everybody, to the First Strike Podcast, officially episode 15. I am your host, and I go by the Marathon Don. And it's WrestleMania season, baby. Unless you're living under a rock, whether you're a boxing fan, an MMA fan, and especially all my wrestling fans, this past weekend we were treated to one of the best, if not the best WrestleMania in history. That's right, folks. You heard it here first. One of the best, if not the best WrestleManias in history. I seen all the reactions online, all the analysts, all the critics criticizing WrestleMania, talking about how they were let down. You were let down. What? Here at the First Strike Podcast, we were thoroughly entertained. After day one, I couldn't wait till day number two. Both main events, fire, off the hook. It had me at the edge of my seats. One of the best WrestleManias ever. I don't understand all the hate online. Honestly, I am convinced at this point in my life that people just love to complain. Like, it doesn't matter what you give the people. For years and decades, everybody wanted John Cena to turn heel. He finally turns heel, and all these fans do is complain and complain and complain. I mean, at the end of the day, listen, I was thoroughly entertained, and we got to get right into it because WrestleMania 41 was off the chain. Shout out Paul Levesque, aka Triple H. Shout out all the producers, all the writers, and the whole team that killed it and knocked that. I mean, of course, the athletes, the performers, for knocking that show out the park. So let's get right into it. I mean, night two. That's where I want to start. I want to start with John Cena versus Cody Rhodes. So for those that are not familiar with the WrestleMania, the way the framework now, it's two nights. So back in the day when I was growing up as a fan, it was one night, all the big main events, all the big matches culminated in one night. But now the brand is so big that WrestleMania is broken down into two nights, each with its unique lineup and its unique main event. And particularly night number two had the big John Cena versus Cody Rhodes main event. So my analysis of the match is the following. I thought it was amazing. I was thoroughly entertained from the opening bell to the closing bell. I feel like at this point in his career, I love the character that John Cena's playing because I feel like it's very based on reality where he's not a cookie cutter heel. And I understand folks are like, yeah, he should have done more bad things. The Rock should have been there, this, that, the third. But you got to understand, this is all about John Cena and how he's felt for the last 20 years. His character has had enough. His character has given his all to the WWE. And now guess what, folks? Now he's taking it home with him. For years, people booed John Cena's. A lot of people criticize him, talking about he can't wrestle when he was at the peak of his powers. And now everybody's crying, oh, he's not a good heel. Well, you know what? Suck it up, folks, because he's a WWE champion and he's here to rock the house for one last year. So speaking specifically of the main event, here's how it went down. Towards the end of the match, it was a very competitive match. John Cena had a few heel tactics that I thoroughly enjoyed, especially the classic uncovering the turnbuckle. I mean, that's something that you don't really see in this modern day in WWE. A lot of the bad guys, they're not taking the covering off the turnbuckle. So to see John Cena do that, I mean, it was just a classic heel move. And, he was basically a bad guy. So I felt like his moveset was way more aggressive. I love the big boot that he was implementing. I mean, we got to give so much credit to Cody Rhodes. I don't think there's ever been a wrestler in the history of pro wrestling that has made a cutter look as smooth as he does it. I mean, it's up there with the Diamond Dallas Page, the RKO, and the fact that he does it springboarding off the ropes. I mean, this guy's a high-level athlete. No wonder he's champion. But, with John Cena, I loved his entrance. I love how it was just like the black and white. It was no thrills. It was just straight business. And Cody Rhodes had all the fireworks, all the sparks. I loved his mask. And I think that the match had a really, really good pace. I feel like at this point in his career, John Cena being the veteran, of course he wants to slow the action down. I felt like it was a perfect style to complement his heel turn. It was more aggressive. It was more, like, in my opinion, more impactful. And the way that Travis Scott came out when they played his entrance music, I was excited for it. I'm like, I'm a big hip hop fan, so maybe there's a little bit of built-in bias. But you know what? It doesn't matter. There is no bias because the reality is that it was a cool segment, and to have him come in at such a pivotal point of the matchup and interfere in the matchup, I think it plays to, the underlying storyline that him and Travis Scott, John Cena and Travis Scott, they have some sort of relationship that we still don't know about. So I do think that they're gonna get to it and explain it. I feel like John Cena did a tremendous job of being the heel when he brought in the championship and Cody Rhodes took it away from him, and then they had that exchange, and he was begging for him, for mercy, and then just to turn around and hit him the low blow and eventually hit him with the belt for the 1, 2, 3. I thought it was great, man. I think that not every big WrestleMania match has to have so much chaos or outside interference. So the fact that it was just Travis Scott and Cody Rhodes was able to get his receipts, pay him back for what he did to him at Elimination Chamber, I thought that was a perfect involvement of Travis Scott. I didn't feel like he overstayed his welcome. It was a classic referee bump. The referee goes down. Travis Scott, I mean, it's his song. That's his theme song of WrestleMania. So I felt like throughout the whole event, we've been hearing his song, but the fact that he hasn't shown up before that particular moment, I feel like it built anticipation. I don't think he overstayed his welcome. He came in, tried to interfere. Cody Rhodes right away caught him in the crossroads, put him down, and then you have that awesome segment with John Cena and Cody Rhodes. And to me, as a pro wrestling fan for over 30 years, I feel like there was a level of purity in that moment because it was classic heel. It wasn't overproduced. There wasn't a ton of interference. There wasn't a ton of weapons. It was just, at that moment, John Cena trying to hit Cody Rhodes with the belt. Cody Rhodes reversing and grabbing the belt from him. John Cena begging for mercy. Cody Rhodes having that inner conflict, thinking about and hesitating to whether he should use the belt. And that hesitation caused John Cena to catch him with a low blow, hit him with the belt for the 1, 2, 3. And I'm so excited. At the end of the day, listen, everybody's talking about this main event. Whether you love it or you hate it, you're talking about it. And you know what that means, folks? That means it worked. And that's why, to me, the Marathon Don, I feel like, is one of the biggest main events in recent history because we're all talking about it. And I feel like at this point in his career, John Cena himself is saying that he has lost a step. So if his style in the matchup has changed, it's because of that. And that's perfectly fine. Like Father Time is undefeated, but his ability to adapt and play a more serious bad guy character that is rooted in reality, because there's a rationale to everything he's doing. I'm tuned in. I thought it was a great matchup. I love the main event. Everyone is talking about The Rock. Why didn't The Rock interfere? Where's The Rock? Where's The Rock? This main event did not need The Rock. It didn't need The Rock. Because guess what? We all tuned in. I was entertained, you was entertained, and at the end of the day, we left wanting more. And that's exactly what a good main event does. So shout out to everybody involved in the main event. Shout out my guy Travis Scott. I hope that you you recover smoothly from that crossroads. But I thought it was a great moment with them at the end with both belts. And what I would love to see going forward is John Cena and Travis Scott, that relationship continue to develop on air and create some sort of faction. Like at the end of the day, this is such a big moment for WWE because you're talking about the franchise that is finally heel, and there's so much attention. Whether you hate him or love him, we're all talking about him, right? So why not take this opportunity to build a new star? I feel like if you have Travis Scott there, who's already drawing all types of heat, John Cena is doing what he does. The Rock, whether he comes back or doesn't, he's already solidified. So why not add one more guy? And why not have him be someone that turns heel as well? And create a faction, someone that has charisma, someone like LA Knight. Let's go. What about a Braun Breaker? Get him in there. Get him there as the enforcer and start a new faction. So when John Cena finally bows out at the end of the year, you can use that momentum to develop another star. WWE, you could thank me later. I mean, we're here, man. We're here working. I'm a big pro wrestling fan. And at the end of the day, I think it's a phenomenal idea to build forward, right? And use this opportunity to solidify John Cena's farewell tour. And by the end of the day, you build a new star. So overall, I was thoroughly entertained. I thought it was a fantastic WrestleMania Night 2 main event. And before I go back and analyze the rest of the card, I do want to start with, or I want to continue with the main event of day one. So the main event of night one was Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins versus CM Punk as a triple threat. And the funny thing is that if you look at both main events, they both had an element of heel tactics. Specifically, the triple threat with Paul Heyman and the way that he was involved in the main event. I loved it. I was thoroughly entertained. I think that the story with Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns and the way that they came in with the Shield and that rivalry, that has to be one of the best storylines in WWE ever since Undertaker and Kane. Like, when you think about storylines that were perpetual and the paths are always they're always crossing paths. You know, Kane and Undertaker were forever connected because they were the brothers of destruction. And I feel like no matter where they go in their career, Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins is always going to be a rivalry that you could revisit. Like, who's tired of watching these guys compete? Nobody. Add in CM Punk, who for many years carried the company and is such a passionate guy about wrestling. Like, this guy screams passion in everything he does. Like, he's passionate about the way he kicks, he punches, the level of intent that he puts into every move. And I feel like you have all these three combustible ingredients, and it just created fireworks. Everything from the presentation to the entrance to the finish, like Paul Heyman and that moral dilemma about who he should side with. And Roman Reigns, to me, is a star. Like, this guy, he cannot do anything wrong. From the way that his moveset to the way that he carries himself to the way that he sells, I thought it was a fantastic triple threat. And what a way to culminate the main event by creating a new storyline with Seth Rollins now potentially partnering up with Paul Heyman. Honestly, if there's an award, like a lifetime award, like a manager lifetime award, how can it not go to Paul Heyman? Like, this guy has been through generations of wrestlers and has managed some of the best in the business. So now it's almost like two worlds colliding and becoming one, with Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins aligning with each other. Like, I cannot wait to see where that storyline goes. The main event was action packed. There were so many spots, and I just think that it was one of the best triple threats. Like, it had to be one of the best triple threats at WrestleMania ever since the Triple H and Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 20. And, you know, the only thing that I felt would have made it a little better would have been if there was some sort of like a number one contendership on the line, something along those lines to add a little bit more weight to the result of the matchup. But other than that, I thought it was a fantastic main event. I loved CM Punk's interest with the band, Seth Rollins with the flamethrower, and that's one of the things too. Like, when I think of WWE, I think of larger-than-life characters, and WrestleMania being the mecca of sports entertainment, I love the theatrics around the entrances, and I felt like this match brought everything that you needed to have a spectacle, and it was a perfect match. I thought the right man win, and I can't wait to see where Seth Rollins go from here. So, fantastic. So, both main events, to me, there are 10 out of 10 out of 10. You know, which main event was better? I definitely think night 2, because there was more at stake. But I do think that both storylines were very well developed. And I think that outside of a small little things that you could have added, maybe some sort of clause in that triple threat, or for example, in night 2, there were elements where people were talking about The Rock should have been out there. I think that both main events delivered, and I think that both main events build the storylines and left us wanting more, which to me, when you have a big WrestleMania, that's what you want to do. You want to have a send-off to a particular story arc, right, where you're going to end the rivalry, but at the same time, you want to leave fans wanting more, and you want everybody to tune in and start the fresh new season, which starts tonight with Monday Night Raw. So I feel like both main events accomplished so many things, gave everybody very entertaining matchups, culminated in these big moments that concluded the matchup, but at the same time left us wanting more. So to me, that's what I rate a 10. Because when I look at pro wrestling, I want to see wrestling, I want to see storylines, I want to see larger-than-life characters, and I want to see the storylines continue and everything to be purposeful. So I do feel like both main events accomplished that. So now that we discussed both main events on day 1 and day 2, and you got my ratings, they're both a 10. 2 of the best main events in WrestleMania history. Now I want to go ahead and talk a little bit about the rest of the card. So starting with night number 1, there was a lot of people that gave Jey Uso and the Gunter match a little bit of heat. A lot of people were complaining online. They didn't like the finish. They felt like Gunter shouldn't have been choked out. I thought it was a fantastic matchup. I feel like Jey Uso has created the blueprint for a tag team wrestler. Like, this is a guy that it's a breakout star. Like, That is fantastic. Like, I mean, how can you not be entertained by this guy? I love his moveset, so impactful. Having his brother come at the end added the emotion that we needed. I thought it was a fantastic matchup. Whether Gunter should have tapped or not tapped, I don't think that takes away from either character, because at the end of the day, Gunter had beaten Jey Uso a few times before. So for him to have his first major title win, his first major world championship at that big stage and tapping him out, I felt like it was a fairy tale ending to me, and I can't wait to see where they go from here. I do think most likely they're going to rematch, but I do hope that Jey Uso gets a little bit of time with the belt. I think he earned it. I think for like his story is fantastic, and to see him come from humble beginnings, from being a tag team wrestler that used to paint his face to now being a breakout single superstar, I loved it. I give that match out of 10. I would give it a solid 8.5. I get why people complain about Gunter, tapping out. I think they could have done other things. For example, in the LA Knight match, when he lost, you see him kind of like almost lifting his shoulder up after the 3 count. So I think with Gunter, they could have done a little better job of maybe protecting him. Don't make him look so weak. Maybe like he could have kicked out at the last moment. Or I read online some folks saying that he could have faded and lost by submission, but not by tapping out. So I think that overall it was a fantastic way to open up the card. But I do understand why people complain about the finish. I kind of agree a little bit. I didn't want to see Gunter like tapping out. I felt like it made him look a little bit weak. But overall, it was a solid matchup. The next matchup on the card, it was the New Days versus the War Raiders. Complete trash. I don't really get it. I feel like, if you want to give folks a bathroom break, that makes sense. But the New Day, like, that was not even undercard material. Like that should have been on SmackDown, and you should have had the Street Profits on there. I feel like the New Day heel turn is a complete mess, and fans are not really tuned in. I feel like they're getting that go away heat where people are booing them, not because they dislike them, just because they don't want to see them. So I feel like that's the worst heat to get. But overall, I don't think it impacted the match, like the card, at all. I feel like the War Raiders did a good job. I love their entrances, but I just think that the New Day heel turns completely sucks. And I do feel like WWE dropped the ball a little bit by not implementing Big E a little more. Like, why not have Big E, maybe do some sort of like maybe like an interview or a pop-up interference or something. But overall, I feel like that match was the bathroom break. New Day, you suck. I'm not a fan. Moving on to the next match, Jade Cargill versus Naomi, completely delivered. I think if you talk about emotion and storyline, that match had it all. And I feel like it's rare for a women's one-on-one match that's a non-title match to actually take place in WrestleMania. So I shout out both women. I think they brought it, and I think that they both add a lot of value to the women's single division. So I can't wait to see where they go from there. As far as Jade winning, I think honestly, the match was so good that it wouldn't really have mattered who won. I don't think that either girl's stock takes a hit because of the way that the match went. They both did fairly well. I give that match an 8. Moving on, Jacob Fatu versus LA Knight. Jacob Fatu, talk about breakout stars. Like, this is a guy that's coming from the bloodline, and it's breaking through all by himself. Like his moveset, his athleticism for a big guy, his intensity, his aggressiveness. I love that match. I felt like LA Knight, I love his charisma. Not a big fan of his moveset, but I felt like this was a perfect contrasting styles where you have someone like LA Knight who's more flamboyant, who's very charismatic, versus the aggressiveness and intensity of Fatu. And I'm happy that he got his title. I feel like this has to be one of the fastest upward trajectories towards a title shot and a championship win, especially in his first WrestleMania singles match. So big shout out to Fatu. That finisher move he does, like that moonsault, is just like, I don't even know how you do it at that size. So what a great, impressive win. I give that match an 8.5. I felt like they both brought the heat, they brought the aggressiveness, and it was a very competitive championship match. Moving on, El Grande Americano versus Rey Fenix. Love El Grande Americano's entrance. Phenomenal. This was a luchador fan fest if there ever was one. So this was definitely a homage to all luchadors. Especially with the WWE acquiring AAA, I feel like this was just a great match, a fantastic showing of luchadors, and overall, I give it maybe like a 7.5. because the original opponent was Rey Mysterio. So I do think that the wrong man won. The wrong man won. I feel like El Grande Americano winning. I feel like Rey Fenix, especially with the purchase of AAA, they should have done a little bit more to protect him and build him towards the future. But overall, a good showing for both guys, and I hope that they continue to build, especially towards that big AAA event that they have coming up. Moving on to one of the matches that I was emotionally invested with, Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair. And I think everybody, like, our excitement for this match after the promo that they both had, and they both went a little personal and off script, I feel like all of our interests went through the roof and actually grew as a result of that promo, because to me it was like there's real heat behind it. Now it's a little bit personal, like they're talking about their personal lives. Tiffany completely obliterated Charlotte at the mic, and it was very interesting to me because I was one of the few people that pointed out how in that match the champion actually came out first. Like, historically, the champion always comes out second, but you can just see the privileges that Charlotte Flair gets by her coming out second, by having the more robust entrance with the fireworks and all the flair. So I felt like, based on that, I really thought that Charlotte Flair was going to win. I'm like, there's no way that she's going to do the job for Tiffany. But when you talk about personal and heat and just a very passionate matchup, this match had it all. I feel like, Charlotte Flair did not lose a step at all. I felt like the level of physicality that this match had, I haven't seen in a women's match in a long time. Like, it truly felt like a UFC caliber title fight. And I mean, you could see at the end of the match with the marks on Tiffany's face. I feel like Tiffany, the right woman, won. At the end of the day, Charlotte Flair, you're talking about, 40 championships. Like, her career is already solidified. So to give the opportunity to Tiffany to have that big moment at WrestleMania, I think that's very honorable of Charlotte Flair. And I think these are star-making performances, because it takes a ton of big moments chained together to create a big star, a mega star that people are going to pay to see, a box office draw. And I feel like this is the right step in that direction for Tiffany. She has a very aggressive style, really cool moveset, and I thought it was the perfect combination against Charlotte Flair. One of my favorite moments of the matchup. And honestly, I feel like for everybody, it's just that beautiful moonsault that she does. Like, it looks so perfect. And like, her air time, like, I could have counted up to like 10 seconds that she was just like in the air doing that moonsault. So tremendous finish. I give that match a 9. I felt like it had the right storyline, the proper time to build the matchup, the physicality, and it really looked like these girls had personal hatred against each other, which in my opinion only made the match better. So overall, day number 1 through 10, I give it a 9.5. I was entertained from the opening bell to the closing bell, and I think having, the involvement of Triple H coming up to open up the show, having the Hall of Famers come out. By the way, I miss Lex Luger. Would have loved to see Lex Luger on there, but I felt like that the show had it all. Day 1 was fantastic, and moving on to day 2. It was pretty cool to have Stephanie kick off the show, because the first night had Triple H, and they also had the crowd, the audience number read by Shawn Michaels. So I thought it was pretty cool the way that they utilize these legends. Triple H to kick off the show, Shawn Michaels to read the crowd announcements, and you still bringing out the Hall of Famers. I thought it was cool. Like, I got to see some of my all-time favorites, and it was a cool moment. So 9.5. I don't think there was ever a time besides that New Day matchup that I tuned away, or that I was actually like even looking at my phone. Like, I was glued to the edge of my seat throughout the whole night. So night number 1, I give it a 9.5. Now moving on to night number 2, definitely pretty cool how Stephanie kicked off the show. Evo Sky, Bianca Belair, and Rhea Ripley completely tore the house down. When we talk about, in my opinion, one of the most challenging matchups to really deliver is a triple threat, because you're talking about 3 people, 3 different constant move sets, 3 different types of chemistry. But when you talk about non-stop action, like, this match was it. Like, these girls did a tremendous job. To me, they exceeded expectations. Like, the level of athleticism, I mean, some of the moves that I saw in that match, I've been a pro wrestling fan for over 30 years. I've never seen before. I feel like Evo Sky, getting the victory, I thought that was very well written and well done, because at the end of the day, Rhea Ripley already had her share of big moments. I feel like Bianca Belair, like, she just has so much charisma that she doesn't really need the championship at this point. So I think like the right person won. And 1 through 10, that match might have been a 9.5. Like, I don't think there was anything else outside of a few minor adjustments that I would have done. But overall, the right person won, and that was a very strong showing for all three women. The next up was Drew McIntyre versus Damian Priest, and I love that match. I felt like early on, I spoke about physicality in the Charlotte Flair match. This match had a physicality, and these guys did not waste any time diving into the rule set of the matchup and using the weapons. I just felt like it was so cool seeing Drew McIntyre take that selfie again for another year, taking a selfie and posting it to his Instagram. I love the usage of all the weapons. I felt like both guys brought it. The finish was brutal. The table spots. I mean, it was thoroughly entertaining, and I felt like you were able to get these guys onto the WrestleMania card, giving them a match, giving them sufficient time to work, but also offering a diversity in the match rule set, because it was a street fight. They were able to, really bend the rules a little bit and give us something that we hadn't seen in night one. And I loved it. I thought there was mayhem everywhere. There was a lot of aggressiveness, and I think that the right man won. I think Drew McIntyre, he's definitely a guy that I would love to see moving up the card and in a main event spot down the line. He's been there before, so I think these are the type of victories that he needs. And him versus Jey Uso will be a fantastic rivalry, or even revisiting something with Cody Rhodes. So I can't wait to see where they go from here. 1 through 10. I give that match a solid 8.5. I felt like they used a variety of weapons. The table spots with fire, that the Claymore kick with the chair around his neck, like, that was brutal. So definitely a really, really good showing. Now, moving on to the Fatal 4-Way Intercontinental Championship match, we had Dominic Mysterio, Braun Breaker, Finn Balor, and Penta. Honestly, if it wasn't for, just the mega match of John Cena and Cody Rhodes, this might have been my personal match of the night. Like, this match was mayhem. The spot with Braun Breaker spearing Carlitos through those announcement tables, which, by the way, look so, like, devastating. Like, they were just so big and heavy, and it just looked so impactful. Like, Braun Breaker, this guy is a stud. Like, he has the aggressiveness of Rick Steiner and Scott Steiner combined. Like, this guy is just a bulldog. And when I see him, I feel like I'm watching a high-level UFC fighter about to compete. So I love the intensity that he brings and the diversity in styles with Penta, Dominic Mysterio, and Finn Balor. I think that there was a missed opportunity with Finn Balor. I feel like at this point in his career, in my opinion, some of the most successful times he had was as a face, as the Demon, and I just felt like they should have brought him back. I wasn't a big fan of the yellow. I feel like he doesn't really have that charisma in terms of speaking. So why not give him the character, the face paint and all that stuff that you don't need charisma, that it just oozes out as that particular character. Like, they did such a great job of building that character. So I felt like bringing the Demon out would have been pretty cool, and having him build off of this matchup to, a face turn and go all the way as a face. I didn't like the yellow, but I thought the match was action-packed. Everybody had the spots, the Braun Breaker, that spear through the table, Penta. Like, this guy is just fantastic. He's so much fun. His moveset, those kicks are devastating. And Dominic Mysterio winning, I think that is a testament to a heel, a bad guy, being done right. When fans are excited to boo you because of you, but they really love you, that's when you know that you did it right. He reminded me of like a really throwback bad guy, and like the way, like, his facial expressions, like, he just gets it. And I think that his moveset is almost like, it's fun, and it doesn't seem that devastating. So it almost seems like he wins by the luck of the draw, like, just out of nowhere, or by the thing, like, just by chance. So I feel like he feeds into that. So when I see him, like, he's always so unassuming and just like a skinny guy, but he always tends to win, and the fan loves him. I feel like his reactions are spot on, and I love the finish. I think that this championship reign is going to be very, very interesting, and I think he's the one guy that you got to make sure that the faction backs him up. keep him with Liv Morgan, keep him with Carlito, because I think that's something that's going to add to his repertoire and his heel character. And I'm just so happy that he gets to have his first single title win. I think that he's going to be the most famous Mysterio in the Mysterio family. And that's saying a lot, because you know what? Rey Mysterio is a legend of the sport. But what his son been able to do, and all that knowledge that he's been able to absorb since like 5 years old or even younger, I think he's like, that experience you can't buy. And I think that he's in a position where he's gonna create a crazy legacy over the next 20 years. Like, this guy is still so young, and he just won his first title at WrestleMania. So shout out to him. Can't wait to see where he goes from here. So speaking of 20 years, very, very exciting. No. Before we move on, let me go ahead and rate the match. So the Fatal 4-Way, I give it a 10, man. I felt like it had everything. I felt like it had the table spot. It had 4 guys that brought it, 4 action-packed guys, and it just had that great finish with Dominic Mysterio that I didn't expect, and I don't think a lot of people. I feel like he might have been the underdog, so I feel like that match had all the ingredients of a 10-star matchup, and and it definitely delivered. So moving on the card, the next match. Speaking of 20 years. Somebody that celebrated the 20 years at WrestleMania was Randy Orton. So Randy Orton, he had his original opponent Kevin Owens had gotten injured, so he had almost like an open challenge, and everybody was saying that it's gonna be a returning star, possibly a debuting star. And I think everybody's jaw dropped when it was Joe Hendry, the current TNA World Champion. Like, when would you have ever imagined in your lifetime or my lifetime that we would have seen the TNA World Champion at WrestleMania? Like, that was just a WrestleMania moment in itself. And I think Joe Hendry, like, he just gets it. Like, he was able to go there, demonstrate his stuff, show off his gimmicks, his taunts, his moves, and I think he just gets it. He's a fun guy, and I feel like he's a guy that understands exactly what he's there to do and do the job, right? Like, he's not there to take anybody else's shine. He's there to do the job, and God damn it, he did it well, because that was such a fun matchup. Randy Orton getting his spots in. It got a little competitive for a little bit. They were able to exchange moves, and that RKO out of nowhere, and then the spot at the end with Randy Orton, doing kind of like the Joe Hendry into his sign. I thought it was fantastic. And I think for what it was, I definitely, including Randy Orton, giving him an opportunity to showcase, but also giving Joe Hendry and the TNA World Championship a lot of shine. I feel like that segment, it did everything it set out to do. So overall, I give that an 8.5, my friends. I was entertained. I loved it. And I think that, sometimes we might be a little too harsh on WWE, because we're analyzing it like it's not intended to entertain. So anytime that I rank a matchup, I'm talking about entertainment value. Like, how entertained was I? Did the segment meet the purpose that it was designed to, that it was intended for? If they create a matchup or a segment to get Randy Orton over, and it gets him over, and the fans react to it, like, how can that not be a 10? Like, to me, that's a 10. If I have an objective and I meet my objective, that's 100% completion of it. So I feel like, that was a great segment. I wouldn't give it a 10, but I would say that it's like an 8.5. I do think that, there might have been opportunity to get someone a little bit more notable, but for the purpose that it was intended, I thought it was pretty good, and it definitely delivered. So moving on, the next matchup is the viral sensation Logan Paul versus AJ Styles. And I do think it was pretty cool to have AJ Styles in the matchup and Logan Paul. I don't think these guys have a lot of chemistry. I feel like this would have been the one matchup that would have benefited from some sort of like a stipulation, or some, maybe like a street fight or like a ladder match or something. I felt like the chemistry was like a little off. They were able to deliver, but it also could have been that the matches prior, like, they set the bar so high that it would have been a little challenging for these guys to keep up. I thought Logan Paul had a cool entrance, like with the drone, but I did think that I kind of expected a little more, and that might be my fault. Maybe I set the expectations too high, because I've seen Logan Paul in all these crazy moments that I was just expecting like a crazy moment, and when it didn't happen, they delivered a really good wrestling matchup. So overall, I'd give that one an 8. I feel like I might have set myself up for failure, like by expecting, some sort of crazy spot. I mean, I get it with the brass knuckles. That was pretty cool. But I think overall, when you're talking about the fatal four-way that happened earlier, the street fight, I think that match would have benefited from some sort of stipulation to remain competitive. Put those guys in a cage or something and let's see what they can do, right? So moving on to, so that match, I give it an 8. So moving on to the women's tag team title match, it was Lyra Valkyrie and Becky Lynch versus Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. And basically, Bayley had gotten injured, right? She was assaulted or she was attacked. And then Becky Lynch came in to save the night. And I thought it was a feel-good moment for the fans. We hadn't seen Becky Lynch in a while. She comes back in, becomes women's tag team championship. Women tag team champion. The man is a star, and I feel like it's been a while since we've seen her. So I thought the crowd reacted to it. It was a great moment. Was it, a 10-star matchup? Probably not, but I feel like it accomplished exactly what it needed to accomplish, and they breathed new life into the women's tag team title division. So overall, I'd give that one an 8 as well. I felt like, Becky Lynch was a surprise to a few folks. I kind of anticipated, a lot of folks did, but I felt like, it was a feel-good moment, and that's what WrestleMania is about, guys. We can't overthink it. We can't set ourselves failure. Sometimes it's about having these feel-good moments. So after that, Stone Cold Steve Austin returned, and he came out in his ATV, and a big moment that's going viral is that he actually crashed into the barricade. And then there was this woman that kind of fell, and Tony Khan had to console her. So, Stone Cold Steve Austin, he's always been, he's always a legend. He brings that intensity, and he's a fun guy. So I think everybody got so excited to see him. And I thought it was pretty cool to implement the legends, to read the number of the crowd. It was really cool to see Stone Cold there. I do feel like they could have had better usage of the legends, because I get it, you want to announce the number of people that attended the event, especially if you're breaking records. But when you have someone like Stone Cold Steve Austin or a Shawn Michaels that you could tap into, I would have loved to see like a skit or something. I feel like back in the day they did a better job of involving like backstage segments for WrestleMania. I remember countless segments with the APA playing cards in the back, or you might have someone walking through the dressing room and bumping into a legend. So I do think that, it's cool to announce the number of attendees, but I mean, it's Stone Cold Steve Austin, guys. I wanted to see a stunner. So yeah, it's cool. I mean, maybe he crashed into the barricade. So, I guess that's a WrestleMania moment that everybody's talking about. But it was pretty cool seeing Stone Cold Steve Austin. He seems to be in great shape. So God bless that man, that living legend. And it was pretty cool to see, WrestleMania overall, over 120,000 people attended. And a lot of people ask, why is it 2 nights now? That is exactly why it's 2 nights, because it sells. It gives more opportunities for people to attend the show, which I think is fantastic. And I feel like it's so big, and there's so many superstars, there's so many storylines. It just makes sense. It was a phenomenal weekend. I was thoroughly entertained. From the moment that I started watching day 1 and night 1, I couldn't wait till night 2. And I feel like some people are just overly critical. This year's WrestleMania was fantastic. I can't wait to see where they go with the John Cena heel turn. I feel like overall, I give this WrestleMania a 9.5. One of the best in history, if not the best. We're all here talking about it. It's not easy to write 2 shows worth of content, and the amount of storylines coming out of the show, the amount of stars being built, I think is a testament to the hard work that they're putting in. And I feel like it's paying off. They're breaking all types of records. Everything they're doing is going viral. And I just think that speaks to the strength of the product. I hadn't seen a show where I sat down from beginning to end for 2 nights in a row in years. Even last year, I didn't watch both nights from start to finish. But this year, I was glued to my seat. So once again, shout out Triple H, producers, and performers. You guys killed it. A fantastic show. Don't listen to these naysayers that complain about everything, because you know what? If they're complaining, that means you're doing something right, my friends. So with that being said, that's a wrap for this episode of the First Strike Podcast. Here in the First Strike Podcast, we strike first, we talk later. I am your host. I go by the Marathon Don, and I am out.